my journey actually from the speaking standpoint starts all the way back since I was 11 years old. I was in the program, a performing art Christian program where they used like performing arts to travel different places to work with different communities.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where it started. So I did a summer program. A bunch of kids in my youth group were going to this every summer, and I was kind of old enough. The program was actually 12 and up, and my youth leader was knew the directors of the organization. So asked them, "Hey, we got this kid. Um, he's originally from Africa. He goes to our church. He's not old enough to do the program. Can we make an exception?" So she went and spoke to my mom, and my mom was like, my mom trusted her enough to be like, all right. And I love the idea of leaving the house and going out to this program. So that was
Yep.
2002. And so I was 11 and a half. And in that program, so you learn how to do dance, dramas, and they want people to share their testimonies. So if someone who's overcome some triumph in their life or issue, whatever, they ask them to share their testimony. That's what it's called. It's a very like
Sure.
non-evangelical, non-denominational evangelical way of like doing ministry or sharing the gospel. So the leaders in the program found out about my story growing up in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the atrocities that we saw and the assassination of my father that led to my family moving to the States. And they're like, whoa, you need to share your story. And so a lot of the communities where they went to do these programs were you might have a local church that's adopted a community where they do ministry, they do like give out food, clothes. So those churches would invite us to do the program in the summer, like block parties. So some of those communities were inner city communities. So naturally, the leaders of the organization said, "Hey, would you feel comfortable sharing your story?"
Mm-hmm.
So they taught me like sometimes it was 2 minutes, sometimes it was 5 minutes, sometimes it was 10 minutes, depending on
Wow.
the time stamp they had.
Mm-hmm.
So at a younger age, I was a little bit more just I went with the flow. I was like, oh, my story, and it was to me, it almost felt nostalgic too and therapeutic to be able to share things that I had inside. So that's where it started, and so I stayed with that program for 13 years, from like 11 years old all the way until I was 27 years old, and I got different opportunities to do different stuff. But that's the genesis of me speaking came from that.
But they were teaching you how to speak?
They were teaching you how to share the message in a way that it was most effective, but also in the limited a time that was given. And the whole point was for people to,
But that's a skill.
right.
So, and that's what I mean. They were teaching you how to speak. So, because I've gotten some training myself in how to actually put the words together and phrases together in the right way within a certain amount of time to be
Hmm.
able to convey your message in a way that people will receive it, and
Hmm.
so it'll land, right? Rhetoric and so forth. But like to be taught that at 11 is like such a valuable gift to be able to grow with for that long.
Yeah,
So it's
I
no
would,
wonder why you're so good at it,
I
right?
would say,
I mean, you've had so much practice.
yeah, I think for them, they focused more on the core of your message, right?
Okay.
So if it was like the climax of what happened and the realization that you came to, because they felt like that was a way to tell people about salvation. And then they did give you the time constraint, right?
Well, because the reason I went there too is because this is something that preachers learn.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's in that context, that's why, I mean, pastors, a pastor that gives a really good sermon
Mm-hmm.
knows how to utilize those principles well to really engage the congregation. So if that was, part of the influence in you learning that makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's exactly where
Yeah.
it started. And
Right.
so that first year, I came back. It was a 3-week program. I came back feeling very empowered. Like there was something there. Like holy crap! Like I
Mhm.
spent my summer performing, but telling my story, and people resonating with it. So the first year we did a tour where we went from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, all the way up to Laconia, New Hampshire. But we would stop at different towns. So we were in Lancaster, PA, Pittsburgh. We just moved, like we stopped at Rochester. Um, and so you're in very different community. Like you're going from like
Mm.
rural Pennsylvania to like more metro area around the Boston area, and then we ended up in Laconia, New Hampshire. So
Yeah, you're getting a little bit of
right,
everything.
so you're there, like you're trying, as you're telling your story in this different venues. Sometimes it was at bus stations, sometimes it was at a local park, sometimes it was at a church or a youth group or a homeless shelter that a church served, and they said, Dale, now's your time to go up and tell your story.
Wow. So yeah, they were preparing you for leadership at a very young age.
I would definitely say so. And so
Yeah,
then
yeah.
after I came home, that at the end of that summer, there was a spark in me
Mm,
around
mm.
like wanting to utilize my voice. And it was also a transitional year because I was going from a middle school where a lot of my friends went to going to a private school. And in that private school, I didn't know a lot of people, and it was a Catholic private school. So having that experience allowed me to get quick water.
Yep. So I made sure he has them. Oh, I can get you some more if you need to.
All right, here, let me return. So it was a transitional year. I was going from a public school where I knew a lot of friends that we grew up in the same neighborhood, we played in the same parks, to moving to a private Catholic school where a lot of the kids came from all over the proximity of 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And it was somewhat of an affluent middle school. So getting into the middle school where I didn't know a lot of people, I had to wear a uniform. But the experience I had with that program prior allowed me to seek more
Mm-hmm,
of like,
mm-hmm.
how do I utilize, this small spark that I just experienced over the summer. So I was very vocal at the school to try to figure out an outlet to be able to do something, which led to my first dance group that I created in middle school that the school actually sponsored. They said, "Hey, we're going to give you time during recess to congregate with your other dancers so you can practice."
Mm-hmm.
They had a talent show. They also had an annual fundraiser that they did at the Palace Theater. So the Palace Theater is a well-known theater in New Hampshire, located in Manchester, where the school that I went to they did this annual talent show to raise money. So these opportunities came about because I was seeking to utilize what I've experienced in the previous summer, but then the teachers also saw that like I was about it, so they gave me space.
Right.
So that was the genesis of it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, communication is a barrier breaker. So if you're trained like to communicate well and you clearly like it and are good at it, that's so helpful going into an unfamiliar situation, right? And that helped you transition into that, which so was dancing a thing at the school before you got there, or did you kind of create
I definitely brought dance to the school.
that?
Um and it was, I think and then it happened like halfway through the first year of being there when they had a talent show. Actually happened a little earlier. I think it was like around October of that year. It was like the first school dance. And mind you, like this is a
This is
12-year-old.
this is middle school, so yeah, you're 12.
Middle school, 12-year-old.
Yep.
So the kids saw me dance, they're like, "Whoa, this kid is kind of good." And then the kids that wanted to also start dancing, it naturally created this like energy around forming something, but nothing really existed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in January, they announced in December that there was a talent show in January. So I was able to put together a crew of the kids that already started to show interest in dancing based on moves that I learned, like the different videos that I was watching from um, Beach Street, break-in, I
Right.
had all
The
those,
classics.
yeah, I had all those videos on DVD and cassettes. So then once the teachers started to, like, teachers were watching, like, teachers are watching. They watch
Mhm.
kids and like, this kid has a little, there's something about this kid. So they foster that. Once they saw me perform, they said, "Hey, we got an annual talent show that happens at the Palace every year.
Hmm.
If you want to put together a little troupe for you guys to practice on it." And again, naively, I ate it up. I was like, "Well, yes, like sign me up." So that first year, after experiencing that summer program, and then having leaders at the school that fostered me doing creative arts through singing, performing, it was almost like a reignite too, because I was doing it in the vein where I was leading,
Hmm.
right? Where at the summer program I was going by what the leaders provided, right? So at that moment I knew like that was something I that was part of me. And
It was
then
becoming your
right,
purpose.
it was part
Right, right,
like
right, right.
speaking and and the thing so I was really excited for the following summer because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the program. Unfortunately, that summer I ended up not going to the program. I
Hmm.
was I was
Well,
fundraising. I was
why didn't
fundraising.
you go to the program again?
So I would need to fundraise. So at the time the
Oh,
program was like 550 to go.
okay.
So a bunch of guys in my church had their own businesses, so they would allow me to work at their shop. One guy had an electrical company. He was an electrician. It was like spring of that year. I'm downstairs in his shop opening up light boxes and stacking them.
Hmm.
And I was too close with the knife. Boom. And I cut myself on my left knee. And I kept it away from my mom. And I started limping, and she noticed that I was limping, and she's like, Dale, what's going on? And then I said, hey, I actually cut myself a week ago. So she got so mad that she said, no, no, you can't go to that program this summer. I was devastated.
Wow.
Yeah. She got so mad that because I was
I thought you were going to
trying to
say you
raise
cut
money.
yourself so bad.
I was trying to raise money. So she made the connection between working, raising money for this program, you cutting yourself and not telling me. So therefore, you're not
She
going to
was
do
trying to
it.
set your priorities right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was devastated. And my mom at the time, when she put her foot down, she put her foot down.
Sure.
So then going into my eighth grade year, because we did such a great job with the crew, the previous year, the teacher that was in charge of the talent show and the fundraiser, she was like, "Oh, you can start practicing now." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay,
Yeah.
bet. Like I'm in this." So went into it, and I became a way much better dancer from where I was the previous year, because I literally spent that entire year just learning dance video.
So it
Um,
became a good thing
yeah, like
because it
going
led
to
you to really
different,
channel
exactly.
yourself
Yeah,
towards, but you had already built this skill.
right, right.
And
But
then
it needed to be honed in because I mean, a lot of the dancing and the performing was street dancing. So I would go to like teen nights at the YMCA, at the Boys and Girls Club, and there was other kids there in the city that were great dancers who
hmm
compete against them. And then when I came back my eighth grade, because I already experienced it previously, I was ready to go.
hmm hmm
I was like, there wasn't even second guessing, because I was like, all right, this is what I do. And then at the end of my eighth grade year, I mean, it was awesome. Like I sang at my graduation.
Oh wow.
We performed, and there was just a lot of outlet that school provided to me that allowed me to hone in. So then I started to be known in the community around kids that were my age, like, yo, he's the performer.
Wow. Yeah.
He's the dancer. Um, so that was it. And then that eighth grade year, I was able to go back to the summer program.
So I'm curious because I feel like this is at a time when most kids, like, I mean, I can at least speak for myself. Like, I mean, at those ages, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out who I am in the first place. I mean, I'm 40 something. I'm still trying to figure out who I am to an extent. To an extent.
We're all on
But
that journey.
right, 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 right. But I mean, at those ages, I feel like I was probably the most vulnerable. I was, for me, I was in kind of a really tough place trying to find where I fit in. And it sounds like you just made your place to fit in. And you were just going to be you, right? And you had a level of confidence. And because of your level of confidence, I feel like is why people would probably really lift you up for it or really support it because they saw your confidence, they saw you were talented. What do you think that comes from? To have that, because I feel like a lot of kids don't have that at that age. They might have something inside them that they would love to get out to people, but they're just either they think that they're too introverted or they just, you know, don't think that they're good enough or talented enough or like.
Yeah, I think that's a really good assessment. Your takeaway from it in terms of
I just think it's
that confident
I
piece.
think it's remarkable. Like I
Yeah.
mean, like that's I would have envied that at that age.
So let me give you some context here. I grew up in a different country. I grew up in the Congo.
Yeah, we did get way ahead of ourselves because I do want to go back there. So and maybe that's just a good time to do that because I feel like so much of everything that happened before would have led up to that, right? To you to being that preteen.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to narrow it down on that, and then we can go back just to get so
Sure.
you get an understanding of that. At that moment of eighth grade, seventh and eighth grade, very critical moment of me discovering myself,
Sure.
discovering my voice. You're going through puberty, right? There's a lot of stuff that's happening. Um,
I believe I've heard that there's no greater time of change that our bodies and our brains
mhm.
go through than that period of time for
Yeah.
the rest of our lives. We'll never
11 and a
change
half,
more.
12, 13, 14. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree to that. My mom empowered us to have a sense of self-worth
Mm,
at all level.
mm,
We were poor, but she didn't allow that to be what defined who we were. Like she always taught us we're worthy, we deserve to be there. Learn, understand, be respectful. And I took those things literal.
mm.
I was I wasn't naive. I was very aware of my environment, and I think that comes from learning how to survive. But at that time, there was also an opposite thing that was happening where that was also the hardest time of my life as well because at that point I've been in the States for 2, 3, 4 years. So in seventh grade, I've only been in the States for 2.5 years. In eighth grade, 3.5 years. So there's two stuff happening, but I'm searching for that grounding and performing art, being content with who you are, representing yourself. I mean, at that time, my school only had maybe 3 black kids
Hmm.
total
Hmm.
in the entire school
I
of
hadn't gone
seventh
there
and eighth.
yet, but I was going to ask
You know,
what that was
so
like too.
and but it worked. That self confident really worked to my advantage, and it wasn't self confident of being boastful or cocky. It was
Yeah.
just self confidence of like knowing yourself and the stuff that you were passionate about, having some form of um like commitment to it. And I think that's where a lot of my classmates gravitated to that of like, oh, they was organizing something. Okay. Oh, I take dance. I've been dancing in the studio. Can I also join? Or
Hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna learn how to do hip hop and break dance too. Can I join too? Right. And I think people are looking for leaders that inspires
Hmm.
that are grounded in whatever the thing is. And but to me at that time, I didn't know that was happening. I just knew that, my mom said, "Hey, we got to be strong, be respectful and have self-worth." So even when I didn't have much in comparison to what my friends did, I was still grounded in me, in my principle, and who I was.
Yep.
And I think that really resonated. It resonated to how my friends
That's really beautiful.
made
And
connection with me, but also how the teachers made connections because the teachers are the one that created the pathway for me.
well, sure. And I mean, teachers aren't always going to be so open-minded to support a kid who's different in a school that just might not necessarily be accepting of outside influences like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was I gonna say? Um, I lost it. I'll get it back. But I remember that's that's kind of hitting me so hard there, kind of what you're talking about, and I just don't want to miss the opportunity to kind of point out this tool that I think could be useful because I feel like so many kids at that time, it's most common. I don't have the stats in front of me, but kids are going through so much, as you mentioned, puberty and other things, and really figuring out who they are. Even harder if you're an outlier, right? Because of your race or nationality or
Socioeconomic. Yeah.
right, all of it, right? So, um, what do you think was the most impactful thing that your mother did or said, or the example, if you could pinpoint it to one thing that a young mother who might watch this that
Mm-hmm.
has a little boy of any color that she wants to instill that in?
I think it's a, I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's a combination of many things, but I do think
Okay, but
I
like
had
the
a
first
level,
thing that comes to mind,
I,
of course, it's never just
I
one
think,
thing.
yeah, I think on the back end, I had a level of trust. I trusted my mom because she was able to get us out of the Congo when we were going through the craziest stuff. So,
And that can lead us back.
yeah.
So without,
So because of that, like she believed in the impossible. She believed that nothing was impossible.
mm, mm,
And so when you've seen it manifest and she's constantly reinforcing it,
mm-hmm.
you also, like for me personally, I also believed in it. So therefore, like part of surviving was you need to um put yourself out there, you need to build relationships, you need to make connections, you need to be vocal, you need to be visible. If you're not visible, you're not going to survive.
So it was her not only telling you this or kind of giving you this instruction that or that you have self-worth and really bolstering it with her words, but she was proving it with her actions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which made you trust her
Mm-hmm.
and made you trust that that was true and that you deserve that.
Yeah, and I still had things that I was insecure about. Like I remember like the first day of school there, I had to tuck my shirt in. Like you wore khakis or corduroy.
Mm-hmm.
On Wednesdays you had to wear a blazer and a tie because that was also church day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember the first day, like I hated the idea. I thought it was wild to be able to tuck your shirt. I was like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Like,
right. Everybody else had their shirts
but
too, right?
I overcame it because everybody else had their shirt tucked in. You know,
Yeah.
like so, like yeah. I do think that that piece is so critical because there were a lot of things that happened throughout the course of being there for 2 years that I could have maybe just hide in the corner and just stay low.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just feel like that's self-confident and but I was also very respectful. I think that's the other factor to it, right? You can be self-confident and be a jerk or overly, you know, like me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other piece of it's like I was also very respectful and I was very positive. Like I in every situation, I always looked at for the better of the situation. And I was very vocal about it, very encouraging to my classmate, very like
Have you always had that disposition?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always had that disposition. I've always been like a hopeful and encouraging and um someone people can go to. Even in middle school, my friends would come to me like
Mm.
telling me their issues and their problems. People felt that sense of
I think you have a very kind energy.
like,
Like in general, I think it's very clear.
mhm.
That somebody doesn't have to talk to you for very long to understand that you're a kind person. I think that just comes through. I don't even think you could hide it if you wanted to. So yeah, having that disposition, I feel like it's hard for you to. You have like the opposite of RBF in general.
I think, yeah, I would say to a certain extent, and I think for that part, it's like I even when I was that young, I was always very reflectful,
Mm-hmm.
like
You're always a
very,
thinker.
yeah, very introspective. Like this is how it makes me feel. I don't like how that makes me. I like how that makes me feel. This, I got to do this. Oh, how can I do this? Oh, who else do I need to talk to? Like,
Where
and
do you
then when
think that level of that ability to communicate your feelings came from? Because that's really hard for a lot of people too, is to be able to put words to their feelings and to be able to dissect things and have those conversations with people at all.
yeah, I feel like my my upbringing. So I was the oldest of.
So we just keep kind of cruising, and
Yeah, let's go to it.
yeah, because I don't
Let's
want
make it work. Let's get to it.
to interrupt. But so you've you've told your story so many times
Hmm.
in so many different venues and different ways, and so I feel like at this point it's easy for you to be casual about some of the
Hmm.
things, and so um, as you mentioned, your father was assassinated
Hmm.
in 1997. You're from the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Hmm.
And so there were two different conflicts in the Congo in the 90s.
Hmm.
Right. And so which one what are some of the details surrounding why your father would have been assassinated?
Yeah, so my family actually end up being involved with both of the conflicts. So the first conflict is in 97.
For someone who has no idea about any of this.
Yeah, so let me give you some context. So and it's actually kind of cool because today there's been more intention around the Congo. There's a book called Cobalt Red that came out a year ago that did really well, and it was about making connection between raw minerals that comes out of the mines of Congo and how there's child exploitation that's happening through child labor, and how those minerals are, we're all connected to them in the Western world. Like there's a
Mm-hmm.
raw mineral called cobalt and coltan. 85% of the world's raw minerals of those materials actually come from the Congo, and those materials turns into chips and LCD. It's in our PlayStation, our iPhone. So there's been a little bit more visibility of how the Congo is tied. But the Congo is the second largest country in Africa. It's right there in the heart of Africa. It was colonized by the Belgium, and then eventually Congo had its independence in the 60s, just like how other African countries did between the 60s and the 70s. And there was a ruler who ruled for president who ruled for like 32 years. His name is Mobutu Sese Seko.
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s, he was becoming a tyrant. He was becoming weak. He was a dictator. He had a lot of money, a lot of relationships in and out with different Western world. But there was a rebellion group that was formed, and due to that rebellion group, so usually when there's a rebellion war happening, they start in one region and then they move until they capture the territory, and often they're heading towards the capital where centralized power is. Once you take over that area, then you become the ruler. So that's exactly what happened in the 90s. My father was a career government employee and military.
Mm-hmm.
That was his work. So he worked for Mobutu for many, many years. Towards the end of Mobutu's ruling, my father became the senior secretary of the general who would be equivalent to like Secretary of War. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so he was his personal senior director, advisor. So uh, when that happened, the war was already so deep. There were so many territory that the rebels already took over of Congo,
Mm-hmm.
that towards the end, there were already some negotiation happening in order to hand over the power because they realized that Mobutu was weak. He wasn't going to, he didn't have enough momentum to still be in power. So that's the first war. Mobutu ended up getting overthrown. And when the rebels reached the capital, nobody fought against the rebel. Congolese people welcomed the rebel because they were ready for change.
Sure.
My father's boss, who was the Secretary of War, already was in the process of negotiating to make the transition happen smoothly. So when that happened, he actually ended up getting assassinated, the Secretary of War, the night before the rebels took over. He was assassinated by the president's son and his military, because the president's son was also had his own military group. I mean, it's wild. But anyway, because they felt like the Secretary of War became a traitor, he made a deal with the new rebel group.
So this is Mobutu's son.
Yeah, Mobutu's son.
Okay.
Yeah. So once that happened, that was the first time in my life that I experienced chaos. The Congolese people, they didn't fight against the rebel.
Mm-hmm.
The rebels came and took over, and what the rebels did is,
That sounds like they wanted change.
yeah,
Right.
people walked.
They really wanted.
People went out in the main road and clapped for the rebels to
Right.
walk in. They were welcomed, cheered.
That's how I understand.
But the rebels, what they did was they then empowered the Congolese people to make vengeance against anyone that worked for the ex-government. Either if you were a policeman, a military man, and you worked for the government. So the community itself started to take justice in their own hand. And that's where the chaos happened.
Mm-hmm.
But the rebel leader who became the president, his name was Joseph Kabila.
Mm-hmm.
When he came into power, during his path to power, he had some neighboring country militaries that helped them.
Mm-hmm.
So Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi. So some of their armed forces helped. They helped establish his military in order to take over. So what happened was they had some deals about how they were going to distribute the resources. But Kabila didn't like the pressure that he was feeling from his partners.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to move forward, he casticized them. So what he did is he parted ways with those government from those outside neighboring countries that helped them. He didn't just do that. He also called the military that helped contribute, he took their nationality and identified them as enemies. Rwandans, Burundians, and Ugandans. Mind you, Congo is so large that anytime there were ever some conflict in any of those neighboring countries, there were a lot of people that migrated in the Congo from those countries from a long time ago.
Why do you think he severed those relationships like that?
Well, I mean, one was because he didn't want to honor whatever deals that they made, but he also knew if he highlighted them as the antagonist, then the Congolese people will go behind him. They will support him because they're saying, hey, he's kicking out the foreigners, the outsiders. He's calling the outsiders enemies. Those outsiders were the people that our people fought against and died because of them. Now they're enemies. All right, they're enemies. We don't want them here, right? It's almost like you nationalizing your sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
But the negative impact of that was just like how he empowered the Congolese people to fight against ex-Mobutu's government, they did the same thing against citizens that lived in the Congo for a very long time who had ties to those countries. So normal people would go over your house. If they knew you're from Burundi, from Rwanda, from Uganda, they would take your home. They would execute you. Just like, when you heard the story of Hotel Rwanda, the genocide that happened in Rwanda in 94, 95.
Yeah.
Like, the Congolese people.
That was the Don Cheadle movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Congolese people were killing Rwandans and Burundians outright.
Right. It was brutal.
So then the international world jumped in because they were like, oh snap, like we don't want we turned our eyes against Rwanda during the genocide and almost 1 million people died in result of it. This doesn't look good if Congolese people are killing Rwandans.
Mm.
So they started making deals with the Kabila government in order to create camps throughout Congo that Rwandans can go to in order to find a way to try to either get them out of the country or getting somewhere else. So that's the chaos that I experienced. And so just mind you, like a rebel group just came, they become in power, people are making vengeance against ex-government official, and a few months later, the government saying, hey, anyone from those other countries, they're also bad guys. So then people start taking vengeance to themselves. So and then what he did was he invited all the ex-government officials that used to work for Mobutu's government to come back and rebuild the country.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where my father came back because he was unemployed after Kabila came in. But once Kabila made that invitation, my father was like, oh, this is my chance again to serve the Congolese people. Let me go back and serve. Because it was in his blood. Like he was locked in on being a military person.
Yeah.
So he left and got reacquainted with the new government and how they were structuring their stuff because they were also fighting. The Congolese military was fighting against all the troops that helped them get into power. So that he needed soldiers, right? So during that time, we attempted for almost 8 months to reunite with my father because he was deployed in a different region of Congo. But every time we would try to reunite with him, it would always be the areas where he was staying was unstable. They say there's a lot of instability there. You can't go there. So eventually, at some point, the Congolese government, anytime they felt like the new government, anytime they felt like somebody was starting to build influence, they would take them out. So you would hear this, you would see it on the news, you would be like, oh, ex so-and-so who used to work for Mobutu's government is now working for Kabila's government, was arrested. He was accused of this. Oh, so-and-so. So you would see this often. And eventually that happened to my father as well. He was arrested with 13 other government official or military official, brought back to the capital, and they were accused of treason. And in the result of that, he was executed. So once he was executed, that's when everything changed for my family.
Yeah.
So that's where my journey starts. So everything we had, my mom was given an ultimatum. My mom was asked to give the children and restart her life. And that's a typical thing. Like, it's like,
give the children?
Yeah, give the children to my dad's family.
Okay.
And they could disperse us. You go live with this aunt. This kid goes, lives with another aunt or another uncle.
She's supposed to just go and...
Yeah, she just restarts her life, right? And she was she was also considered an outsider because she was half Burundi.
Wow.
So now you see how I'm gonna tie the story back.
Wow.
So she decided to keep us. And in result of that, my father's side of family said, all right, we wash our hands and good luck with you and the kids. And at that time, everything we had was taken away. Our bank account, everything. My family, my dad's side of family took some of the land that was directly tied to, because my father was a patriarch of his family. There was over, 20 different family members, and he was the one in charge. So once my mom gave over the papers and she didn't want to give over the kids, we were useless to them,
Wow.
So we lived in a small little shack, some distant family members that my mom was connected to. And that's where the survivor journey starts. But through that time, it was about perseverance. It was about courage. It was about grit. So I saw my mom live that out on a daily basis.
And you were how old when this is happening?
So
Before you.
when my father was assassinated, I was 6.5. I was six and a
How
half.
clearly do you remember that time frame?
That very clear,
Hmm.
very clear, because when my father was around, he always felt like he needed to prepare me for something. So he would always say stuff like, "Hey, I need you to take care of your mom. I need to take care of your brothers. Hey, you got to be sharp. Hey, you got to be polished. You got to be smart. You got to be focused."
Are you the oldest?
I am the oldest, yeah. So I already had that. Like, so when you ask him questions about, what made you feel so grounded, or that was how I was brought up already.
Right.
I was brought up very, um, to be aware. Like, it was almost like I was being trained. I was being trained to.
It also sounds like, growing up in that environment, that was almost a silly question, just because you almost didn't have the luxury to feel that way.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that's kind of
to question what are you talking
right.
about? Right.
So then when things started to,
it's a very Western.
When things started to break down, I kind of had no choice but to help. So when my mom would go out and, at the local school selling little small cookies that she made at the house, I'm the one who took care of my brothers. So that responsibility was like, hey, make sure after you come back from school, do this, 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 this. When your younger brother, if he's crying too much and the bottle is starting to go small, bring him over to where I'm selling the cookies. I'll feed him, and you have to bring him back. So like, that was my responsibility,
right.
And at that time, the only thing I knew was how to contribute so we can continue to still survive.
Right.
And so the thing that was crazy was my mom, she started to try to figure out how she was going to get us out of the country. And so she started writing letters, and a lot of my dad's friends were very distant from us, but somebody gave us a connection to some NGO that was working out of the Congo that was trying to help the Rwandans and the Burundians that were being executed to get out of the Congo.
Okay.
So now you see how you see how the connection,
right?
So then they're like, well, we can't get you guys out of the country by what happened to your father, but we might be able to get you out of the country with your Burundian background, because my mom was half Burundian and half Congolese, and she can speak the language well.
Wow.
So that was the play.
Well, I was going to ask about your mother's side of the family. So were they part of the picture?
So my mother's side of family, a good portion of her family members still lived in Burundi.
Okay.
And then my grandmother and 3 of my aunts lived in Kisangani, which is really far from where we were in Kinshasa. And we didn't have enough money to either go. So part of the plan was my mom was trying to make enough money. Maybe we move back to Kisangani, where her family is. But she really thought and believed that there was a greater thing. So when she started to talk to some of the NGOs, and they started to craft some ideas and plans of how to get us completely out of Congo, she became a sucker for that idea of like, there's a chance for my family to actually get out of the Congo. So those NGOs were the ones that really started to mentor her and said, hey, we're going to build your profile this way. And she betted on it, and she believed in it. So here's the wild thing. Once those ideas started to build traction, because I was the only one that was really around, she would always confide in me. So she's like, hey, Deo, I got to let you know something. We're going to get out of here. Get out of here? Like, where are we going to go? No. We're going to go. Here was the first plan. So the first plan was to get adopted by a Catholic organization in Belgium, but they were only going to adopt the kids. And then my mom was going to move to like Kenya or Tanzania. And then the hope was eventually in life, we'll find a way to sponsor her. Brian, like, that was the plan.
Imagine having to make those kinds of decisions.
She told me that, and I thought she went crazy. At 6.5, 7-year-old,
How old is your mother at this point?
At that time, she was born in 1973. So she was like maybe 20, 21, 23, 24 at that time. Yeah.
Trying to navigate this at 21.
24, 25. Yeah, around that.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
So I thought she went crazy because it's really foreign to me. We have nothing. There's an organization. You're talking to some people. They're gonna, the kids are gonna get adopted in Belgium, and then you're gonna move to Kenya. I'm like, you've gone crazy. So I would just go along with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then what happened was, she's like, we gotta be ready at any time. Once the paperwork goes through and it's a green light, it's gonna happen. Things are gonna be okay though. We're gonna reconnect. This is a better. I never even thought that. I never thought that's gonna happen, Brian. Like, so I was like, never even really worried about. Never had the thought of like,
It
oh,
wasn't even anything you could
yeah,
possibly
like, oh,
conceive.
my mom's not gonna be with us anymore. Like, so then one time she came, she's like, so there's good news. I'm like, what is it now, mom? She's like, so the US government is going to be taking some Rwandans and Burundian out of Congo, and they're gonna go to a refugee camp either in Kenya or Tanzania, but then after that they're gonna move to the States, to the US. So I'm like,
It sounds like you don't even believe it now. And you're like, yeah.
even when I tell the story, I mean, and I've told my story in so many different places. What?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to the US? Like Bill Clinton US? This lady has a lot of mistake. Okay, mom. And she
Yeah.
comes back another time. She's like, hey, Deo, man, it's really gonna happen. So there's this secret refugee camp here in Kinshasa. They're hosting they're housing a bunch of Rwandans and Burundian. We're gonna go there first for a few months, and then we're gonna go to a different place. But our final destination will be in the Congo. So a couple of weeks goes by. We used to always listen to the radio, like, and there's a BBC that's covering Congolese. Kabila has agreed to allow some Rwandan refugees that are located in different places to be able to resettle. They're working with the U.S. government and the UN. So I'm like, but never thought in a million years that that would even
Right.
be us.
Mm.
So then one time my mom is like, so I decided that I'm gonna give our cooktop to this person because we lived like in a family compound where there was a bunch of other family that lived there. I'm
How
gonna
long did you live there?
We lived there for about 9 months.
Mm.
Prior to that, we lived there for 5 months before my father was assassinated. That's where we stayed briefly before we were trying to reconnect with my
Oh,
father.
okay.
So she's telling me who she's gonna leave some of our stuff to. She's like, hey, I'm gonna buy you a new outfit. I'm gonna buy your brothers, but a lot of the stuff we have, we're gonna leave behind. We didn't really have much, so I'm like, this lady really believes in. Like, she's like, hey, when you come back after school, you gotta stay close by because when it happens, it's gonna happen
It's
quick.
right. And
There was a
be ready.
there was a guy that lived in the same compound as us. He had a paint shop up the street that I would work at sometimes. So mind you, I'm 7 years old. So this is prior to coming to the States. This was already the responsibility that I had.
Mm.
People already gravitate. The guy used to let me run his paint shop.
Mm.
I mean, it didn't get a lot of traffic because there was
Sure.
probably 30 other paint shops that sold the same
But
stuff.
you're a trustworthy
But I
person.
was there in the shop, right?
Mm.
She's like, hey, if anything ever happens, I will send somebody to come and grab it, but you got to be ready. So the day it happens, Brian, I'm at the paint shop. Someone that lived in the complex with us runs up, goes, Dale, 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 your mom's looking for you. She's saying that you guys are leaving. Leaving?
Mm-hmm.
So I head back to the compound. She's like, they just dropped me off. All the paperwork is passed. They're going to come back and pick us up. So it was like middle of the day. Not everybody's is there. Enough people that are in the complex are coming, like, kind of looking at my mom like, Bernadette. They used to call her Belka. Bernadette. Belt. Where are you bringing the kids? Oh, I can't really tell you guys, but did you see that Red Cross truck that dropped me off? They've been working with us. They've been working with me, and we're leaving. We're gonna end up in the US. So she's like, Dale, grab your stuff. Remember, like, we gotta go. So some people that are in the complex, they come and they're giving us hugs and stuff, and it's happening almost surreal. Like I'm trying to process, like, am I dreaming? Like what? Like, this is real, and it's kind of hard. I'm almost having this auto body experience, and the car pulls up in front of the complex.
Time to go.
We gotta go. So I'm kind of saying bye, but I'm not really saying bye. I'm looking at my mom.
Not sure if you believe it.
Who are these people? Like,
Right.
we get in the car, and she's like, Dale, I told you. I told you it was gonna happen. My brothers are too young. My brothers are too young.
How old are they?
Like Gideon at the time is, maybe he was born in November of 97. So this is happening like early 1998. So like, yeah, so it's like February
He's a few months old.
Yeah. So, and then Destin is a year and a half. Destin was born 96. Vinny was born in 93, and I was born in 90.
So all boys?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we get in the car. Now we're going downtown Kinshasa, where a lot of, like, the buildings are really nice, and pulled up in this building. She's like, I'll be right back. Goes in, grabs some papers. She's like, Dale, the place we're going right now it's gonna be temporary. We're not gonna be there long. But God answered our prayer. We're leaving. So we're driving. So we go to this neighborhood. It's like the rich neighborhood. This is all cement fencing, where it's so high you can't even see the house. It's just cement fencing. So I'm like, oh snap! Like, I remember this place because one of our family friend, whatever, used to, after my dad died, he would come through, and sometimes you just say, oh Dale, I'll take you out. We'll drive around and stuff. So I'm familiar with this neighborhood, but I've never been to that specific neighborhood. So we pull up in this gate. There's 4 army people, full machine gun, AK-47, M16, in front of this gate. The driver goes and shows the paperwork. The gate opens. As the gate is opening, I see kids running around. I see parents on the other side. There's a post inside with more military people. There is like a you know how, like, when you go to a pool, there's always a high chair. It's almost something like that, but it's like a tree house. Every couple of blocks against the wall, you see that. But there's soldiers on there with weapons. So I'm like, oh snap! Wow. This is real. We pull up in the compound. It's a compound, like multiple buildings. I see the swimming pool.
So now you're in the presence of U.S. military.
It's Congolese. It's Congolese military and some UN military.
UN. Okay.
Yeah. Congolese military that are hired to protect, and then UN military.
Okay.
And then just a bunch of people in this huge compound, like just kids running around. And I'm kind of like, what is this? She's like, Dale, we're going to be here for a while. Registered. They're looking at all of our paperwork that my mom had that she just picked up in that office downtown. They bring us to the room, our room. So the way that it was set up, it was almost like hotel rooms, where you have a bathroom, a big room, and a little small kitchenette. The compound was like some foreign business company built this for their employees. I mean, it had a bowling alley, it had a nightclub. It was just a bunch of. So we walked into the room, and the room is nice to us, like,
right,
because we're coming. Where we were staying was a shack. It had roof tin roof that had holes on it. When it would rain, the rain would fall on us. I mean,
Yeah.
so just that alone, like, we're like, wow, we're in like a clean room, you
Step
know?
up, right.
So they bring clean sheets, towels, and extra mattresses, excuse me. And my brothers are excited to have their own mattresses. And I just, at that moment, I realized that my mom wasn't crazy, that she was really working something out that brought us into this place.
Mm.
The people that were there were definitely, to us, they were foreigners because a lot of them spoke Kinyarwanda, Kirundi. Some of them were literally coming from jails where they were held. NGOs advocated for them to get out of those jails.
Mm-hmm. Were these people who were like prisoners of war? Or
No, they were just Rwandans
prisoners?
and Burundians.
Yeah.
That,
Sorry. Yeah.
that were being persecuted in the Congo after Kabila kicked all them out.
I see. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the first proof of concept that like my mom was actually telling the truth. And then we ended up staying there for 2.5 months. And you go through so many set of interviews. Most of the interviews, my mom was the one who was doing the interviews alone. So she needed to keep the same narrative. Whatever narrative that the NGOs helped her craft in the beginning, that's what she needed to stick with.
Yeah.
It wasn't, oh, my husband worked for the Congolese government.
Right.
We're scared that we're going to get killed too. No, it was, I'm Burundian.
Mm-hmm.
And my life is in the line. My children and I's life is in the line, and I need help, or else I might not survive. They took her family's last name, because her last name was Mawazo.
Mm-hmm.
It means to ponder or to think in Swahili.
Okay.
But her family also had another last name that was her grandmother's, which had more Rwandan and Burundian, which was Uwimana. Shimiimana in Kinyarwanda, Uwimana in Kirundi. So that was her last name. But we still kept my father's last name, Mwano.
Mm-hmm.
And every time she would go through this interview, she's like, oh, the interviews went well. They're saying that we're going to more likely be part of the first group of people. In that compound, maybe at the time, there was probably close to 250 people. And when the first list, we didn't know where we were going to go, either Kenya or Tanzania, but we knew the final destination was the US. And that, to me, I still didn't believe that. When the list came, the first list, 130 families were first selected to leave. We were on the list, and the destination was Benin, Western Africa, near Togo. So we were excited that we were on the list, but it was a big risk because we're about an hour and a half from the airport from where we were, and leading to that ended up being leaked. And so the Congolese government was trying to get good brownie points from the Western world.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of this stuff was being negotiated by some NGOs, some like IOM, which is International Office of Migration for the US.
Mm-hmm.
So some of this stuff, like, you know how, like, I hate to say this, but you know how like Trump always says, like, let's make a deal. There's deals that happens. Like,
there are many things.
There's some serious stuff that happens. Like,
sure.
Like, so the Congolese government was okay with that group of refugees that were being hosted in a secret refugee camp in the capital to leave. So they agreed that they were going to allow that first group to leave. And we were part of the first group. So the day that it came, it was like 3 or 4 long Greyhound buses type of bus came through. Again, whatever we had with us, and huge envoy, military, police, UN in the front, in the middle, in the back of the convoy. And that morning there was a radio announcement that stated that, oh, here we go, our traitor president is allowing these traitors to live our country. And it was the scariest feeling from that hour and a half that we took from the compound to the airport, Brian.
Mm.
And I remember my mom just
Oh, wow.
she was just holding on to us. And the thought that it was so close, we're like, oh my gosh, we are leaving
Yeah.
Congo. Like,
Yeah.
so we get there. By the time we get to the airport, like, people are looking around. Like, who are these people?
Right.
Like, originally we were supposed to get out before and then walk through, but the NGOs were able to negotiate with the custom and say, hey, like, we've already vetted everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We have to drive all the way to the tarmac. Luckily,
And they
that's
let
what
them. Yeah.
happened. The buses went all the way in front of the tarmac where the stairs were. And as we got out, my mom was just holding on to us, and we're walking up the stairs, we're sitting on the chair, and the door shut. It's quiet. Some of the NGO agents that were helping out, they were on the flight with us. It is, you can hear the engine, and then the plane starts moving slowly, starts catching speed, and before you know it, the plane was in the air, and people started clapping. And like, I don't, I feel like I'm in a dream. Like, like, I I can't even like really grasp it, you know? And my mom is like, I remember her saying something like, even if we don't make it anywhere else, at least we're out of this country.
What's the lesson that taught you?
Um, be fearless, not give up, have hope, build relationship, trust.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Anything is possible.
anything is possible. Like, the
Just to
chances of that happening is like, the odds
just a
is
shout out your
ridiculous.
mom. Like it just kind of it hit me when you said fearless because I can only imagine how scared she must have been at so many different parts throughout that, and how courage is action, in the face of fear, right? And so through that fear, and her fear is, I I think what her fear for her children and for her family, like, forced her to take those moves that she might not even have really completely believed were possible herself, but she took the steps that she was shown and followed the instructions, right? And that's powerful, man. That's powerful, and powerful for you to have absorbed all of that at 6. Is it 6, 7, 8?
6, 7, yeah.
The fact that you were cognizant of that is pretty amazing. And I mean, what a lesson to learn at that stage and that example. So that gives so much more context to
Mm-hmm.
what we were talking about earlier. And just like, yeah, I mean, I guess after having gone through that, like, middle school, high school in the US is a breeze.
I was like, not even to be cocky or anything.
Like, what do you guys?
I was
What
I
do you
was
guys
a
even do to me?
I was a
Right,
fearless dude.
right, right.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah. Well,
I
at that
was
point,
I was like,
but because of your mother's courage, I think made you fearless.
I was a
Yeah.
bad man mentally. Like I just, because I saw it all.
Right, right,
I mean,
right.
when the turmoil started happening, like
You saw things kids shouldn't see.
like
Yeah,
I saw it all.
yeah,
Like, people with gunshot wounds,
yeah.
people that had tires over their body that were burned alive. I mean, I saw it all. You know, so it's like, to make it here.
Mm,
Oh man, like,
yeah,
I'm living a second life. Like,
yeah, yeah.
what? I have nothing to lose.
Mm,
The fact that I have nothing is what I have so much. That was my mentality. So part of it was like, hey, like, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to ask how things work, because there's nowhere else to where we can go except up.
Well, but also, if you see the example of your mother doing that and understanding that something that's completely fucking impossible
Mm-hmm.
is literally just, it's completed by following these steps.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what I want to do, I just got to figure out what the steps are.
That's the blueprint. Understanding the blueprint and
Right.
understanding what you need in order for that blueprint to come to life. And that's really how my life has manifested. Like when we landed here, she said, "I don't have much to give you guys except the freedom and the opportunity this country has to." And
She gave you a lot.
so what we're gonna leverage is we got free education. You're gonna leverage that.
Mm.
Learn. Figure out how things work, and we're gonna continue to push forward.
So I'm guessing school here operated differently than school did there.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think there, I mean, growing up, I always had the luxury of going to some of the top schools in the Congo, in Kinshasa, around where I lived, even in Banzangungu, where I grew up before we moved to Kinshasa.
Well, and
So,
just for like additional context, like with your father having the role that he did, like you guys at least at some point, whether you remember or not, must have been doing pretty good.
yeah, so the thing about my father was that's interesting is like he was a very frugal man.
Mm-hmm.
So at his highest, so we lived in Banzangungu. That's when he was just working for a different like uh agency, whatever. We had a really nice house in Banzangung. It was fully fenced in,
Mm-hmm.
main house, guest house. But when he got the job to become the personal secretary or advisor to the Secretary of War, he moved. We were renting in the poorest
Hmm.
community in Kinshasa. Okay, listen to this.
Yeah.
The poorest community in Kinshasa, in the capital, and we were renting off of the main house. He didn't have a vehicle. His drivers will drop him off. Sometimes they'll drop him off away from the house and he would just walk to the house. Okay? His people that worked under my father had everything. But my father lived a simple life. And I would argue that was probably one of the reasons why nobody messed with us when the transition happened the first time.
Mm.
Because why would someone who's more loyal or has influence in the Congolese government live here? And nobody in our community even knew. Nobody in our community even knew until later on, when the guy that we were renting from, when he passed away, he was a veteran, and my dad did a full honoring for him as a military, like a whole week.
Mm.
And he would buy sacks of rice, corn, beans. The truck would come in. It's like, hey, this is a donation for the community. People would come out and grab it. Nobody even knew that it was him.
Mm.
So when the rebels came, the first day the rebels came, when they were luring around the community, I tell this story, and anyways, so they show up. Our neighbors are like, Bernadette, you want to stay in the house? Because it took a couple of days before my dad reunited with us after the coup happened.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, my neighbors like, Bernadette, stay in the house with the kids. But it was too late. We were already in the front. There was a guy with a rocket propelled grenade over his shoulder, and maybe 30 other military in front of our house, and they didn't know how to speak Lingala or French. So the guy is trying to speak, but my mom heard his accent, and my mom asked him in Kinyarwanda, "Who are you looking for? How can I help you?" And the guy answered, "We heard that there's some mercenary soldier in this community. Have you seen them?" And my mom said, "No, we haven't seen them." But 2 or 3 days before the government was turned over, we saw those child soldiers. There were Angolan child soldiers that Mobutu was hiring that roamed the street and ended up in the local church up the street from us.
And these were children.
Children, 13, 12
with
years old,
grenade launchers.
Whole. So the rebels, when they came in, they were looking for them because they were informed that there were some mercenary soldiers that were in the community. And eventually, but we thought somebody ratted us out.
Mm.
When they ended up in front of where we lived, we thought somebody ratted. We thought that was it,
Yeah.
because that's what was happening. Like, they were pulling people out of the houses. Hey, you work for the.
But your mother being able to speak that dialect.
Yeah, she said, "Hey, how can I help you?" And in Kirundi, and they said, "Oh, we heard that there's some mercenary soldier here that Mobutu hired. Have you seen them?" Mom was like, "No, I haven't seen them." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. Have a great day." And even my neighbors, the people that live in the compound, like, they were shocked because they were like, "What language was that? How do you know how to speak that language?" So that's why when I tell the story of the civil war in the Congo, like I tell it from a first person experience
because you were there.
because I was there,
Right.
right? So it's controversial because a lot of people would say that, hey, Rwanda wasn't involved with this. I mean, the first batch of military that came in when they took over the capital, they were Rwandans.
Well,
They were Rwandans and Burundians. They didn't even know how to speak freaking. They didn't know how to speak Lingala. They didn't know how to speak French. They didn't even know. Some of them didn't even know how to speak Swahili. So
so
who are these
French
military
was
people?
one of the main languages there.
Yeah, French.
Yeah.
French was the main language there. So, anyways, so I tell you that story because it's my father was like so strategic, Brian. He was always planting seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Why would a personal advisor to a secretary of defense, live in the poorest neighborhood in the whole capital? But nothing ever happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he came back,
He understood some things.
yeah, after the transition happened, he walked back home. I think he disguised himself as like somebody who worked at the local church, walked back. We thought he was gone. The night when the rebels took over, especially when we found out the general was assassinated that he worked for, like
Mm-hmm.
we thought he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So he was a very strategic person, man. But anyways, but he lived frugal. When I was young, Brian, I would wake up in the middle of the night. There would be Americans, French, Portuguese people at my house
Mm.
negotiating with my dad, trying to get favored. I would wake up in the
So
morning.
he had some real influence.
He had some influence. I don't know to what extent, but he definitely did. But he lived in a small place. People were coming to our house. Small place.
Mm.
So a lot of that stuff, like, but it is interesting though, because much later on as an adult, as I've reflected on what happened, there's certain stuff like I don't think he was a saint. I definitely don't think he was a saint, but I think, and I only knew him from a very small window. Even when he was around, he was never really around. He was always deployed somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So my relationship was really more with my mom. And anytime I connected with my dad, it was really more about do this, do that. It was very military. How are you doing this? How are you doing at school?
But you got enough of him to have an impression of him.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yeah. And some of those characteristics flew through me 100%. There's an aspect of it.
They must.
But so that's my journey. So that's what shapes the first
That's all before you're even
9 years of my life.
Before you're 10.
Yeah. The first 9 years of my life.
Yeah. So you've been through more by the time you're 10 than most adults in the US ever have been. So when you're walking into a school there, I mean, what was that like? I mean, so I've always known you to have, and everything that I've seen of you from before I knew you just shows just such a positive and like glowing disposition, that such that I feel like really rubs off on people. Was that the case in middle school? Like when you like got to the US and you start school and was dance like right away? Did that, all those things we kind of talked about before, did that happen like right away, or did it take a little while for you to actually kind of come out of your shell?
Dance and music happened right away. 100%. At the time, a lot of boy band were popular. NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Michael Jackson's Invisible just came out. So I was really drawn to American music and dance. I found it very fascinating.
And I've heard you talk about a lot of anger, which I just thought it was so interesting to hear you say that, because I've heard you say it a few different times and places now.
Mm-hmm.
I just have such a hard time imagining you as that. Was dance and music and creativity a way, like an outlet for that?
Yeah, because there's two worlds happening. So I just told you the backstory of what happened that led to us. When all that stuff was happening, I never had fear. I was never scared because I focused so much on surviving and living.
Mm-hmm.
But once I moved to the States, a few years in, that seventh and eighth grade was internally. I was dying inside.
Mm.
A lot of post trauma started. I started reliving the stuff that I didn't live that I was going through when I
Well,
was going through it.
do you think that some of that, and I'm not even trying to be funny in saying this, but did some of that have to do with the fact that at that age you're starting to go through puberty now, and you're starting to kind of grow, your hormones as a male are changing?
Yeah, I think
Like,
I think trauma impacts people differently.
mm-hmm, of course.
And I think trauma at its present might break you as it's happening,
Mm-hmm.
which it does for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
or trauma will come and get you later.
Sure.
So what happened to me was once I found stability, some sort of stability here,
Mhm.
those things started to come back. So the first one was anxiousness. When I heard certain noises, I literally thought
Ah.
people were coming to get me. If I heard a siren, if I heard loud bang, um, I was paranoid,
Mm.
and that paranoid made me feel very uneasy. And so that comes from hearing gunshots and
Yeah.
constantly. That came from some of the experiences that I visually saw, you know. And then the other one was my mom was trying to move on with her life. Yeah, she found someone, and
Mm.
so like, and there's certain aspect of that person that I didn't feel like was aligned with our values and the value that she gave us, and she didn't recognize that. So that was another pull.
And you're
So
12, 13, 14.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that started to eat
You're the
me
man
up.
of the house.
It started to eat me up. So at the same time that I told you the story of feeling accepted, utilizing dance, speaking, I started to die on the inside.
Mm.
Like I wasn't in the right place, Brian. But that realization, I didn't know what it was. I knew how I felt until summer of my eighth grade when I was involved with that program, second time around.
Mm.
And that was my peak. So that was almost 2.5 years of feeling this thing. And I'm in my peak. I liked the organization so much that I even told my classmates after eighth grade that I wasn't coming back to New Hampshire, that I was going to move in and live with those people because
Mm.
I was at the end. I was really at the end. I didn't like I wasn't in a good spot. So I'm at the summer program, and one of the night a speaker was gave a message about forgiveness, and I went down the line of thinking of like I forgive this person. I forgive me. Yeah, I don't need to deal with forgiveness. So I thought I was good. And he gave like an altar call, like, hey, if anyone needs prayer around forgiveness, come up. And I just sat there on the chair. Some other people were praying, whatever. And then I felt this thing in my heart. I felt this like wave, like
Hmm.
boom. And it almost came from like the inside, and it went on my shoulder, it went behind my ear. It was like this thing that was like you need to face this.
Hmm.
And I didn't know what it was, but I knew this is the feeling that I've been feeling for the last year and a half. I'm encountering it at its fullest, and it's almost hovering over me. It almost feels like someone threw a blanket over me,
Wow.
but it's also feeling inside. I'm also seeing the inside of me. So then, as I'm reflecting, something made me start like praying out loud about what. So I just asked God. I said, "Hey, like I've been dealing with this heaviness in me for so long. Like, I don't like the feeling. I don't like the way that it makes me feel. And I just need you to take control. I need you to help me. I need you to help set me free." Like, and the more I was saying it, I just kept saying the same thing over and over again.
Hmm.
And I felt this clarity internally that was like, you're holding on to anger, you're holding on to bitterness. Here are the things that you're mad at. You're mad at your mom, your dad's side of family. You're mad at It's just all this different thing, stuff that you've seen. So it was playing out.
This just came to you?
It's
Like you allowed yourself to.
I allow
see
my
it.
well, I think once I started to like, I think the act of asking God at that moment where I was like, I just need you to take, like, I don't like how I feel. I don't like how I've been feeling. I'm at capacity. You just need to take this away from me.
You confronted that.
I confronted it, and then it revealed itself in what it was. And once it revealed itself what it was, I was asked to make a choice, and that choice was to forgive. And which is weird. It's a really strange thing and very weird and out of body thing, but it was so clear to me that in order for me to move forward, I needed to forgive. Nobody was telling me, like nobody externally was telling me. It was my own reflection. Like I went
getting that.
I went so deep internally that my thoughts and feelings had its own personality and spoke to me. And I had to speak to it, and it asked me to forgive. You need to forgive.
Wow.
If you forgive, you will be set free. Here are the things that you need to forgive. And at one point, I was like, look, I felt like I couldn't let it out. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not forgiving my father's side of family. Like, those people left us.
Mm.
I'm not forgiving the images and the stuff that I saw. Like, I didn't deserve to see that stuff.
Mm.
And then I started to say, I forgive this. I forgive that. I forgive this. And I was screaming from the top of my lungs.
Wow, really? So you're starting to bring attention to yourself.
Vocalizing it.
Yeah.
Screaming from the but I'm not, I have my eyes closed. I'm not even like I'm nobody around me. I don't even know if people came to me, touched me. I'm just screaming. And I'm declaring it from, I forgive this, I forgive that. Please, God, just set me free. I'm just going off. I went off. I don't even know how long I went off until I pretty much lost my voice. And then I felt this thing, Brian. I felt this thing like where the burden and this thing that was like just that rock that was just in my heart, the thorn that was in my heart for so long. I just felt it go away, completely away. I felt so light. I think I fell on my knees. And eventually, at some point, I opened my eyes. And when I opened my eyes, there was only a few people in the sanctuary. All the other kids went to grab snack because it was almost bedtime.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that I did is I asked one of the staff member if I can use their cell phone. And I called. I remember they gave me the phone, and I walked out of the sanctuary from the middle, went outside. It had that church had like a overhang on the porch where cars can drive by. Call my mom and I said, I just want to say I'm sorry. And I'm saying this in Lingala.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry for everything. She's like, Deo, it's okay. It's all right. I said, I forgive. I forgive the side of family. I forgive dad's side of family. I forgive. She's like, it's okay. And I'm like, I feel this peace in my heart. She's like, Dale, I'm happy for you. You don't need to carry it. You don't need to carry any of that stuff. God has done so much for us. You got to move forward. And it's interesting because like my mom has this thing where like anything that's like a negative thing, she kind of just bypasses it. Like, what do you mean? Like even now as an adult, like when I've achieved certain things, if I call her up, I'm like, oh, she's like, are you surprised?
Yeah.
You're not surprised, right? You belong to be there.
Mm.
You belong to be in that room.
Mm.
Like I'm like, no, 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 no. Like I'm good, mom. Like she's like, okay, you sound like you're surprised. So even in that call, she's just like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You are okay. It's
Do you feel
okay.
like you needed her blessing or permission on
No,
that?
I don't think I needed.
Or was it,
I actually needed her. I was asking her to forgive me because how I've been, and I realized that I was just letting her know too. Like,
mm,
hey,
mm,
I feel like I'm new.
wow.
I don't feel this thing in me anymore. And that's the transformation, Brian. That day, that summer of 2004, in that sanctuary, is the encounter that transformed me. If I didn't have that
Mm,
encounter, there's probably a high chance that I wouldn't be here today.
mm.
There's probably a high chance because
How,
I felt like I got to a peak. I wasn't in a good space where I thought about alternatives in terms of my life. You know, that's how bad things were internally for me.
like you just couldn't understand how you were going to ever get beyond
Yeah,
that
the
state,
feelings and where I was. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
the anger and
The anger, the bitterness,
is it manifesting itself?
the
Like were you just
anxiousness.
being a jerk to people? all
No,
of
it was
a
to myself. I thought
sudden? Or
about
was it all internal?
it was all internal, and I thought about like maybe I don't deserve to be in this world anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was
Can
really
relate to that.
that was the factor, you know. So that I end up having that actually became the testimony that I shared all that summer trip, and did I do a double trip that year? I might have done a double trip that year. That means like I did two different program that
Mhm.
summer.
Mhm.
And
And these are all in the church or with the church?
yeah, with that
Yep.
program. It
Yep,
was
yep,
yeah,
yep.
with that program.
Yep.
So that year I was in East Side, West Side, Chicago.
Okay.
Yep. And some of the toughest neighborhood. Like I remember being at the housing project where they shot White Boy Can't Jump, and that was the last year for that place to be there because they were tearing everything down because Chicago was getting gentrified like crazy. But anyways,
Mhm.
so that's the places I share my story. I shared my story about freedom and breakthrough through forgiveness,
Mm.
and people would come up to me, like, and when I would share the story, I'll be crying. Like I was crying when I'm telling these stories, and
Mm.
like I needed to hear that. My son, my daughter needed to hear. Thank you for sharing that. I've been holding bitterness and anger in my heart for so long. Like people were coming up to me saying, hearing my story helped them to realize that they gotta let go.
So letting go. So letting go is
And forgiving.
kind of the advice.
Forgiving. Yeah.
So like if you is there any advice you'd give to someone who was having a hard time with that? Who was having a hard time letting go of that?
Ooh, man.
Like I tend to always ask for the one thing, and the reason I ask for the one thing is because I really just try to simplify, and I want it doesn't have to. I don't expect one thing to necessarily be it, but what's the next step? The first step.
I think the biggest thing you need to understand, right? This is for your listener, is that when you're holding a grudge or unforgiveness, or when you have anger towards someone else, they are not feeling any of what you're feeling.
And they don't even know.
You're the only person that's feeling that. Even if you've articulated to them that you're mad at them or you're angry at them, they will have their own way of internalizing what that means, depending on how significant you might even be to them. They're living their life, but what you feel holds you bondage.
And meanwhile, it's growing like a cancer.
Exactly. It has a hold of you.
Mm.
It doesn't allow you to operate on your full potential. It makes you think and have thoughts that are negative, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
But what you feel, that other person does not feel that at all.
Right.
Even when you try to convince yourself that what you feel, they're also feeling it, they're not feeling it.
Mm.
So to me, that's the starting point, is recognizing that.
Just really understanding that you are only hurting yourself.
You're holding yourself in prison.
And in so many different ways that negative energy can manifest physically in
Oh
your
yeah.
body.
I mean, like losing hair,
Right.
getting acne, like you're
Hmm.
like it's the negative hormones that,
Right. Disease.
yeah,
Right.
that breaks through from those,
Mm.
that feeling.
Mm.
You can't even fully enjoy something that's supposed to be fun and good
Right.
because aspect of you is held in.
Well, and it's robbing any potential of
Oh my
anything
gosh.
that could
Yeah.
happen.
And then before you know it, you even start depicting yourself a certain way, especially if there's something that was done to you
Hmm.
physically, or a ripple effect of something that was
Yep.
either ended up being taken away from you, or like, man, I, to me, that's to me. And I know everyone has their own way of how
Sure.
they cope and deal with that, but I'm a strong believer that there's no justification on holding on to
Right.
any of those stuff, especially when it's not giving you any good energy.
I think the best case scenario is that some people are able to use some of that as toxic fuel.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. And there was aspect of that that I felt that way. It felt good for me to have bitterness and anger towards my father's side of family for that reason. Like I was like, no, this is justifiable.
Hmm.
But what I didn't know was the after effect of me taking ownership of it and what it did to me,
Hmm.
you know? And the other thing about forgiveness is, at least for me, it doesn't mean that you end up justifying the situation. And it also doesn't mean that the situation didn't occur.
Right. But you have to let go of your attachment to it. Like I've had to face the same kind of concept myself several times, and I had a huge opportunity to do that this past summer. I visited my hometown for the first time in 25 years. So I left
Wow.
there when I was 18. Like I'm never fucking coming back. The shit that I dealt with there as a child, while nothing like anything that not even the same world, but I mean, so many of the kind of insecurities I was describing, someone to have at that 11, 12-year-old age that I just wasn't getting from your story at all, just came from growing up in a really poor family in not necessarily an affluent area, but we were different. And one of those differences wasn't even just the fact that we weren't white, but both of my parents are physically disabled. And so we just operated differently. We didn't play sports or anything like that. There was more of a focus on the arts. I wasn't a good student. I was overweight. We didn't have money, so I never had nice clothes. But so many of these things start to add up to what you consider to be your self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just as much as they probably tried, I didn't have quite that example from my parents. So that's such a powerful thing that your mom did, for that set you up for the rest of your life. Just think it's important for you to kind of have gotten out the way you did, that people can hear, that they can actually do something with. And that a young mother, or even, I mean, a mother at any stage, or a parent at any stage, can just remember how important and how much influence that has, right? So, I mean, and I'm sure that's had so much influence on how you've approached being a parent,
Mm-hmm.
and from the things you've gone through. I mean, it's just so powerful, is how much of a difference the things that can happen in that stage. I mean, let alone the things that you went through before then, but just getting to that stage and having the wherewithal to have that attitude. I think it's just served you so well, um, despite all of that. I mean, I don't even know how to describe what you went through.
That's my grounding. That,
Wow.
like, from 97 until 2004, that's the grounding. That's the foundation.
Yep.
Everything else post that is really just,
But finding the forgiveness, I think, is the big thing, because even at a certain point, I mean, toxic fuel took me so far, and it took me pretty far. But at a certain point, like in my 30s, it took me to my 30s to kind of realize what had really been driving me and what was behind it. And it maybe took me even longer, until within even the last couple of years, to understand what's actually important.
Mhm.
And what I'm doing things for ultimately, because it's been a major part of shaping my identity. Um, I just think that's amazing. I mean, at this point, I think forgiveness is really just being able to move on, right? And understand that something happened and it doesn't have to define you. And or even if it's not even something that's big, is just being able to move on and have other things that occupy your mind.
Mhm.
Because if you're just focusing on that one thing, you're missing out on so many other things that could occupy that space.
Yeah,
In your brain.
and being intentional too. Whatever principles are that you are pursuing that you feel is
Do you think
important.
are there steps to forgiveness?
I think there's a step to forgiveness when it comes to if it's external, where it ends up, if you're looking for like a touch point with that person or that experience, right? Like if it means like, oh, going like I never want to go back home, but
Mm-hmm.
you're facing it, so you decide to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
if you are going to see that person at a family party or whatever it is, or a boss or whatever it is, like right? Like
Right, right.
I think there's steps in the external engagement, but I think on the internal realization, um, I think you need to be able to be really introspective on reflecting on what it means beyond just the feelings
Mm-hmm.
of what you feel, but what does it mean? Like what does the anger mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does the bitterness mean?
Well, I guess first
What
you got
is
to
it
identify
being mad? Right.
what you're pissed off about,
Yeah,
right?
like
What
and
is
how does it make you feel? And what do you accomplish by feeling that way?
mm,
What how does it drive you or how does it not drive you? Right?
how is it sabotaging?
Exactly. So being able to have that introspection, reflection at a fine way, it allows you to really hone in to see the what's at play, how it's causing it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that it's like you need to be on you need to be able to be vulnerable with yourself. I think there we have a hard time being vulnerable to ourselves because when we're able to touch the real thing, then we've become aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to do something that's contrary to what we've become aware of, then we're going to have to justify it. But it's much easier to just be unconsciously aware of it. So then there's no ownership on you to be like, oh yeah, I actually do this because of this or because of that. And so that vulnerability is being able to be real to yourself of like what's at play, what's causing the different things that's happening. And um and I think that's a big part of that. And that's where like it also leads to humility. Like um and I know it works different for different people, but like I have to do the work for myself first
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
before that work transpires to any relationships that I have, especially the people that are closer to me. Like there's times where once I've realized in its face value what it is, like I'm coming to my kids with, hey, I realize like this is what was leading for me to protect this thing. And because of that, that's how I showed up. And I know that it might have not been the right time for me to press on that particular thing or how I reacted to it, but
Mm-hmm.
this is what was happening. And I'm sorry if in result of that it made you feel this way, but this is where I was coming from. But that's me doing the work first,
Right, right.
right? I'm not just meeting it at where the intersection lies, right? To be like, oh, well, you didn't go out and shovel when I was asking you to shovel. And then I went back to say, oh, look at all the privilege that you have. You can't even go out there and shovel,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what's igniting me might be the fact that I had a long day. I shoveled in the morning and I shoveled again. And the steps where I see that you can also just shovel that in a few minutes, but you walk by the house, I can see your footprint. Why didn't you shovel?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what's causing the frustration. That's what causing the anger.
And that only lives within you.
Exactly.
Right.
So I got to be able to explore that first,
Mm.
right? Because then what we do, we end up justifying. I might just stay maybe one tier back by saying, hey, I shoveled like 5 different times this morning. No one could have shoveled when you guys walk into the house. What did you guys do when you walked into the house?
So is that the pause between activation and reaction?
100%.
Right. Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
back for yourself to recognize
Hmm.
where the friction lies, and being vulnerable to that, because
Hmm.
sometimes we hang on to what's justifying how we've showed up, and to me it's like it's the way the area where it manifests is the most, where it's amazing, it's with my family, and it's very different than how my dad or my mom would ever handle anything.
Hmm.
But it's been able to manifest that way with my team, the people that work with me,
Hmm.
my partners. Like even this week. So this week, I have a partner we've been working for like 5 years. They run a good size organization, a good size operational organization, and they sent an email out stating that for a planning meeting, we had to connect with another person, and they were not going to be in the planning meeting. So my initial reaction was like, oh snap, like up to this point, they've wanted to be involved because they're pushing the stuff forward. So I'm like, do they not want to be involved anymore? Like, because to me, that person is not invested as much as this person is. So why would they make me only meet with the other person?
Hmm.
Right? So all of a sudden, like, so I'm beginning to reflect on it. So some of my thing was, oh, maybe they're trying to upskill this person because they're ready to. We've been there long enough, so they're ready to kick us off.
Wow.
So, or my mind went to some other stuff. Or maybe there's something happened, and they're trying to mitigate their path. So therefore, they want to dive deeper as much as they can to get as much from me, so they can better position themselves. So, but I had to go there, Brian, right?
Yeah,
I had to
yeah,
go all the way back for me
yeah.
to
Why am I feeling?
why
this
am
way?
I and so when
I feel like I need to protect.
so then I was like, all right, let me send the email. So in my email, I was like, great, I'll meet with do, but I'm also curious, like, are you going to be reserving back on being involved with this on a consistent basis? And then they email me and say, oh no, I'm fully in. That
Mhm.
person is not taking ownership, and I want them to take ownership by allowing them to be in these meetings because I'm already connecting with you. We already know where we're going, but I want this person to be on the driver's seat
Mhm.
because the person that reports to them is the person that's coordinating everything, right?
Mhm.
And then so when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. But if my fight or flight, if I just went with that initial thing,
Right.
I could have justified it. My
If you just
justification could have been like,
stayed in the amygdala,
yeah,
right? You'd have just, yeah.
I've been there for 5 years. I've helped you guys transform your organization. You're just gonna throw me out like this now? Like,
Hmm.
because that's where I was going. But once I started to unpack everything else, I was
Yep.
able to go back. And my question to that person was so pointed to the thing.
Hmm.
Are you not going to be involved with it anymore? Right?
Right. So you just ask the question.
Yeah.
Right. You just.
And boom. And even with my team, like the people that work with me, I am so intentional, Brian. I'm like, we can sit in the mud and rustle through this.
Hmm.
And we're just looking for the driver behind it. And so we would talk through. It's like, hey, you wrote this. You wrote the summary this way. Why did you write the summary this way? Because to me, it seems like you skipped this. And the reason why I'm saying this, because after I evaluated, when I read it, it felt like you were actually putting your own bias in what you thought was happening. And then they will be able to reflect on. There's been so many conversations I've had with my team, but sometimes it's uncomfortable because people are not used to like reflecting fully on what the drivers are,
I guess,
and then and then
or they feel like it's confrontational.
exactly,
It's really just
exactly. I'm like,
seeking understanding.
we got to be in the mud. Like we have to be in the mud. So, but that's very different from anything I learned growing up from my mom or from my dad or from anybody else. That's just from work that I've done post college and stuff that I've learned more about myself and what it means to meet people where they are within their face value.
Well, and I mean, you, I feel like are a man of many talents, and I mean, so music, dance, other creativity. I've always seen you making clothing and doing all kinds of things. I mean, countless endeavors. I I feel like you're always pushing the envelope and trying something new and working with kids and speaking. What kind of stuff are you working on now? What projects are you most proud of right now?
Yeah, super exciting. So just to ground this for your listener, I think I'm a big believer that we're creative being. That means part of our existence on this earth, we are also are given the responsibility to create. So I'm constantly just creating. And yes, there's certain mediums where I've had experiences in, but those mediums also just started by being vulnerable and having curiosity to say, oh, what would it look like if I did this? So, and, so I'm willing to invest not just resources, but time around whatever that thing is, because I believe that like we're contributors. I'm like a strong believer of that.
Of contribution.
Yeah, to
Right.
contribute on this, like look at what we've contributed to this earth alone.
Mhm.
You know, it's pretty incredible. Like, I mean, up to this point, regardless if people believe in aliens or not, from a visualization, we're the only living things in this galaxy as of now that we can visually see.
Mhm.
That's pretty incredible. And if you look at everything that we've learned and how we've,
This earth.
yeah, and of how we've made sense of who we are and what, like, it's just built on itself in order to continue to shape what we feel, touch, see. Even the concept of like of money, there's a lot of stuff that we've made sense to that are just we've made meanings to those things. That's why those things exist.
Right, right, right.
If we didn't give meaning to
We've
those
made
things,
them
wouldn't exist. So a lot of the stuff are just construct outside of things like air and oxygen, right? Things that we need to like breathe and take in order for us to actually exist chemically. There's a lot of stuff that we've just made up.
Mhm.
We've just made up stuff. So part of it is like we're creative beings. So I believe in that. Like I believe that like we, we need to create, even if it's not perfect, even if it doesn't meet whatever standards are. Like we need to explore. So in result of that, that's why you've seen things that you just named that I'm involved with that because I'm just a sucker in creating. So
you feel inspiration in a direction and you just move.
we just try it.
Yeah.
Just like, hey,
Yeah.
all right, let's
Yep.
try that. Like,
Yep.
you know, I wrote the Blueprint Project back in 2020. The Blueprint Project went on for like a 2 to 3 year run where organizations, schools, and different places were hiring me to show the video and have discussions. Sometimes I did the presentation live with some of the actors around it. I've done so many different things that I've done. But what I'm excited about is two big things. One is I'm releasing a book in October.
Oh wow. Really?
Yeah, so it's it's a memoir, the story of my life. It touches upon some of the stuff we discussed today
Mm-hmm.
in a very like holistic grounding way where we really unpack and dissect so many different moving parts of what went into my journey that's led to where I am now. The book is called The Request. Um, it's coming out in October 26th, 2026. It's been almost a 8-year process. I wrote my story chronologically first. That took
Mhm.
about 2 years. And then we went back to figure out how do we tell a story in a way that it's compelling, but also it dives deeper. And
Mm-hmm.
so I worked with this amazing person that helped me craft it in that way. And then we've been shopping it around for the last year and a half. As of December, we got into contract with the publisher out of LA, and the book is going to come on 26th. And I'm really excited about it
I could tell.
coming
No,
to
you
life.
should be. I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, we're gonna do a bunch of really cool stuff with it. Like we might even do like an album associated to the theme of the chapters that might have like either more instrumental music to go with the theme, or maybe some might have vocals too. So yeah. So anyway, so that's what's happening. And then the other thing that's happening that's really exciting to me is the app that I've been developing for the last 6 years. It's a motivation and inspiration app that takes personal content that people upload, like videos, photos that are the drivers for what people are pursuing, and then it uses it, it populates it in a calendar. So anytime your calendars go off, you're seeing personal stuff that you've uploaded to that task, and then it records your activity. And then over time, it's able to recommend and suggest different things that you can do based on how it configures you. And then that data, it's used to share with you so you can learn more about what helps you to get things done. But also, if organizations are using it, teaches them more about the people that are in their organization.
Wow.
And so the hope is it informs what type of incentives and resources and
That you
development,
respond to.
yeah, that they
Mhm.
provide,
Mm.
yep, for their employees or their customers. So the app is called Mirror I Am.
Mhm.
It's a spin to the idea of mirroring my internal motivation.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're seeing, so by the end user uploading this personal content that's relevant to them,
Mhm.
when they see it, the hope is it triggers them to get the stuff done that they
Yep.
have in front of them.
So long as they're being honest with themselves about what they really want and what's
Mhm.
really motivating them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Because
it's really,
over time you'll be able to see your bulk wrap, right? If you're like,
yeah,
oh, I'm gonna put a picture of a sneaker because if I reach this
yeah,
goal, I'm gonna buy a sneaker. But you're seeing it, but you're still not showing up to do your task. You keep
then that's not
rescheduling.
really what motivates.
That's not the motivation.
Right. Sometimes it takes people. It's harder to figure out what really motivates you than just
Mm-hmm.
the shit you want.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
At the moment.
Yep.
Right.
So the app captures that, like what your incentives are, who are you doing it for? Because sometimes you might pursue a goal, but the beneficiary of it that's closer to the motivation, it might be your family. If you're like, oh, I want to lose
Right.
10 pounds. Oh, I want to lose 10 pounds because I want to be able to play in the park without losing my breath playing with my kids.
Yeah.
So the beneficiary is actually the kids, like your family.
Right. Right.
So it has this built-in AI that we've trained to be able to ask questions.
To dig
Exactly.
so the input is actually something
Yep.
that's going to matter.
Yep. So when you're creating a goal or a task, the AI asks you a bunch of questions and it allows you to really reflect. So you're
Wow.
not just going like,
Yeah.
So we're releasing it. We're starting our pilot in February next month. And it's a project that I've been working on for a very long time. We've had a lot of different iteration of it, but where we are now is it's a good spot, and
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what happens with it. Again, it's something that I own the product 100%. I've invested in it over a certain time, and I believe that if it works, it could be a very revolutionary tool for a lot of people.
Sounds like it. You mentioned something about a scholarship earlier.
Yes. So the last 5 years, we've been doing a scholarship to high school students, and this was a way for me to. I felt the connection to Manchester because that's where I grew up. And the idea was when I was younger, a lot of people came alongside me, and me feeling that someone has my back was an extra pep on my step when I was pursuing stuff. So when we started the scholarship, the idea was we would give out a $1,000 scholarship to high school students that are graduating in any other high school in Manchester. They have to write an essay around perseverance, what perseverance is to them.
Yep.
And we're not looking at like how egregious a story is or like how dramatic the thing is. It's really about their ability to articulate what perseverance is to them and how it manifests.
So you're not looking for the craziest story,
exactly,
for the person who can communicate
what it means to them and what they've done. So over the last 5 years, we have given now close to $60,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So every year we give out anywhere between 10,000, 15, 16,000 to a group of students and the essays are incredible. Like they're just incredible. Like it's actually the best time of the year, middle of spring, when we start getting the essay inquiries, and it's only a page. We only ask for a one pager, and some of the stories the students have shared, and then we have a dinner in the middle of the summer where we give out the scholarship, and the alumni from the previous year, they come and tell their stories of
Oh,
what they've
cool.
done.
Cool.
If either and it's not just post high school going to college, it could be kids that are going to trade or they're going to military,
Hmm.
but they have to show that they're pursuing something post high school.
Right.
And so we've been doing it for the last like I say 6 years, 5 to 6 years, and when I say we, it's my consultant team. So we don't get any outside funders to put the money in the pot. Like it's what we've gained from our partners from revenue that we put aside to
Really?
give back
So
to our
these aren't
community.
donations and stuff?
Yeah. No,
These are,
that's
wow.
and so part of it's like yeah, so like for me it's like I'm like a big believer, like you gotta have skin in the game. And I I really feel like giving back to me is like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for other people, you know? And so to me it's like I think it's important to give back monetary because it's a stretch. Because sometimes we can give through time,
Hmm.
and I give through time a lot. I give
Hmm.
through
Hmm.
like knowledge because I've a lot, but I think the stretch of monetary is like it's a good stretch because what it does is it makes you like
Like tithing.
yes, it makes you like that's not ours, right? That's not mine. That's for someone else.
Mm.
And when and money, like we're tied to money.
Mm-hmm.
That's close, you know?
Hmm.
And so to me, it's like there's a lot of stuff that I have in my life on a daily basis. I need to be stretched. Like I never want to be complacent. Even like I believe that it's really important to constantly being like there's
Sure.
times where I attempt to write with my left hand because I want to be stretched.
Hmm.
Like I have a workout that I do every morning. I hate running. I completely hate running,
Yeah.
but I have to run every day at least a half a mile
Hmm.
every single day on the treadmill because it's a stretch. Because the more you're used to being stretched,
Yep.
when stuff comes along that you're forced to stretch, you can walk into the battle because you're already familiarized with what it means to be stretched. Because a lot of people
Right.
are running away from actually being stretched.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, oh, no, that's inconvenient. Oh, I don't know how that's going to feel. It's like some stuff you're not going to have a breakthrough
Well,
unless if you stretch yourself.
the difference, I think, and it's maybe easy for people to cop out on this,
Mhm.
right? Because there's a difference between being stretched to do something that is, or to get to a place that's inherently
Mhm.
valuable to you versus just not aligning with something,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And that's something I've had to face at different times in my life. Like, am I making this decision because it's hard, or am I making this decision because I'm just not aligned
Right.
with this thing? But I guess I can say the same. I'm always like, you have to be working towards something in some particular case, or trying to improve at something, or
I do think
just
the
trying
value
something
alignment
new.
is important. So I don't want to bypass that. And I know that it's something you just touch on. I do think that what you're willing to stretch on, it has to have some sort of a positive value alignment. Because
Well, because it's really easy for someone, like in a work environment.
yeah, I mean, if the stuff that's easy, like the stuff that's not value alignment, you're not going to even consider it as it forcing you to stretch, unless if there's some sort of um uh beneficiary thing that comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be in the negative way. Like if it's like, oh, if I cheat on this, or if we manipulate the number on this, or if I don't completely tell everything, right? So you're
Mm-hmm.
stretching by not telling the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, it's like, well, there's a causation of what's causing you to do that because you're trying to gain something or whatever it is, favoritism or whatever. But on the other side, the positive stuff where you might not gain something
Mm-hmm.
back, those things are much harder to not stretch because you're like, I'm not getting anything back. But that's the whole point. If
Yep.
you're giving back, if you're sacrificing,
Mm-hmm.
right, then you're doing something where you've identified that the beneficiary are others that you're trying to help or
Well,
you're trying
if
to
you're
share something.
sacrificing to get back, then you're not sacrificing.
Right.
That's the opposite of the definition of sacrifice, I feel like. Sacrifice is giving, I feel like, with just a universal trust that you'll also be given to when you need, paying things forward,
Mhm.
and those kinds of things. Some would call karma.
Right.
My definition is a little different, but
And I also think the other thing is inconvenient.
oh yeah, not wanting to do something
If
just because it's
something is
inconvenient.
inconvenient,
Sure.
well, a lot of times being stretched, it's going to be inconvenient.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're trying to
Or if
protect
things
your,
are too convenient, if things are too
yeah,
convenient, you have to start to question something at some point.
but sometimes that's what people are yearning for, though. Sometimes people are yearning for, I want to make enough so then I can take all this inconvenience out of the way.
Or they think they want a life that doesn't have any challenges.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So to me, it's like I'm reviewing constantly, just whatever it is, to make sure that there's things that I'm doing that are stretching me. So running was one thing that's been integrated, but even when I wake up today, like I'm like, oh man, like, but I know that there's a lot of beneficiary to that. And I also think like mentally, our brain gets used to
There's
how we do the not so fun stuff that we're willingly saying, hey, this is good for me, so I'm gonna do it.
Andrew Huberman says that there's actually I believe he says there's a physical change in the brain that happens when we continually do things that we don't want to do, that are hard things, like that run and stuff like that. You're literally stretching your capacity for things. I guess that's a good word to describe you. I think you have so much capacity to have your hands on all of these different things.
And it also influences like being able to have a plan A, B, C, D. So this has transpired a lot in my life, Brian. Like in a lot of ways. Like, oh, we can't do that. So what are the rules?
Yeah.
What? Oh, well, you can do this. I mean, maybe in another podcast when I come back, I can tell a story of what I've learned through real estate, like working with towns or whatever. Like, oh, it's like, but then you find out there's another way of doing it. It's like, well, then let's just do the other way then.
Yeah.
Like, oh, someone's like, oh, we can't do that today. What does that mean? Oh, well, we showed up and the vanity that you got is broken. So we're not gonna, no. What's the vanity? Does someone else carry the vanity? Let's go get the vanity. Like,
right.
We're going to lose a week today. You're staying there. Someone's going to bring, so it's like,
finding a way. Yeah.
It's just I feel like sometimes like we're quick to give up and throw the towel because maybe the first option and the second option is not there. It's not possible. And I think when you're coming from a resource like constraint, you have to be resourceful. Like that's the only way you're going to be able to break the boundaries or break the walls. It's like, and part of that is learning. Like you gotta learn about how things work, how things are put together.
Well, and
what are the driver?
Only going to learn, I think, by asking those questions and by trying things and asking if there's another way. There are so many different ways to do one thing. And a lot of times people only focus on one or two ways and don't necessarily think about the other ways.
And my last comment to that is like, we're living in the age where information is so free. Like,
I mean, yeah, we've never had more resources at our literal fingertips. It's just insane. One of my greatest mentors ever used to always say, leverage your resources and just leverage your resources. Well, but I don't know how to do this. He's like, leverage your resources. You have a resource somewhere to figure out what the hell you got to do. You just have to look at it. But I mean, today between ChatGPT and Google, like,
oh my gosh,
what can't you figure it out? Right,
ChatGPT, like,
right.
Have at least a baseline of just understanding how that thing is. So when you're walking into that meeting or whatever it is, at least you understand some of the stuff at its basic level. And it's okay to say, hey, I read that there's this, and seems like it's relevant to my situation. How can I? If somebody sees that you're coming from that standpoint, it's much harder for them to try to cheat you out because he already knows the baseline. But if you're just naive, if you're starting from scratch with everything and you're leaving it at the mercy of someone else, it's really hard sometimes to be able to propel forward on certain things because you didn't do the basic. There's times where I bring things up, like last year I was doing my taxes and I was reading something and there was some sort of a tax thing that was passed. I sent it to my tax person And when I went to the meeting, it's like, hey, I looked into that. That actually worked for you. Right. So like, but there's also things that I'm aware, like that I verse myself in.
Mm-hmm.
That's not part of my job or my work, but it's a factor. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
like we live in a technology age,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Where AI and innovative technology is just moving so fast. Like I'm constantly watching podcasts and interviews, conferences, videos on some of this stuff because I want to understand how are those things trickling back down
Right.
to us.
Right.
And that could be on anything. It's like real estate, finance, whatever it is. Like if there's things that you think are important for you, then you need to be able to consume knowledge around those things so you can have a sense of how those things work.
So for the person who's maybe early 20s, maybe doesn't have a great background, has no real, like just isn't really sure what their direction is in life, but is just using the excuse that they don't know how to do anything, or that they don't have any resources. Um, what what steps would you take, or would you tell this person to take to open some doors for them?
Curiosity.
Mm.
You got to be curious. You got to be curious and you got to put in the work to understand how the things that you care about or the things that you're contemplating, how it works. Because through that exploration, you're going to find things that you want to dive deeper in that continues to build upon it. Because the reality is like, I also think that it's important to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do something and you need to start somewhere. You might not be able to do everything, right? But you got to start somewhere. So for instance, like
I heard something lately that really I love this. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Opportunity costs. My first class for my MBA, I had this professor originally from Iran. He said, sometimes we convince ourselves that the world is Comcast and the world is Burger King.
Mm.
It's like everyone's like, what? He said, the world is not always Comcast and the world is not always Burger King. It's not always on demand and you cannot always have it your way. Life is about opportunity cost.
Sure.
What you devote your time on, that means you're giving up time for something else.
Right.
What you give up your time on, that means you're giving your time for something else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to have that intersection. So it's like, if there's a thing that you're missing out or it's something that you're pursuing that's important for you, and you keep pondering it over and over again, but you're not doing anything in order to reflect that, then you're not doing it. So my encouragement is always like, you need to first spend time to learn, and then you got to find proximity to that thing at real life.
So after deciding what
you need,
you're curious
you need proximity to it. So if it's real estate, eventually down the road, you would love to, if you make enough money to have, multifamily or property rentals. There's so many developers around, so many real estate people. You can literally call. Hey, do you know any developer locally? Small developer that have a couple of units that you've done transaction with. I just want to intern, or I just want to learn of how it goes. Do they have a property manager? Do they have so literally
get in the room
proximity? You need proximity, and people are looking for doers.
Yeah.
Some people would love that because they're struggling right now because they can't pass the business to family members because no family members want to take over the business. If a young person shows interest, there's so many opportunities out there.
People are blind to a lot of that, I think.
And you gotta start somewhere. But that proximity is so important.
Do you think people have a problem with being willing to start where they have to start?
Yes, because I think sometimes it's just the visibility, because we live in a very chauvinistic world where people rather show you that I'm there versus do the work to get there. Right?
True. Absolutely.
So it's well, I don't want to be the one script. When I was young, I was cleaning. I worked for a cleaning company for 5 years. I started when I was 14 years old.
Well,
I used to clean dorm rooms. I used to clean bathrooms in hospitals.
I actually did a lot of janitorial work.
You know what I mean?
Actually, yeah.
I used to script the floor. Goog on, goog off. Come on. You know what I mean? Put me on, damp wiping.
Bill's character, they say.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so it's like you have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You really
And
do.
well, and being humble enough to start where you need to start. But also what you realize at the end too, it's people don't necessarily want to always see people where they've made it to. They want to see the journey, and the
Hmm.
journey is what helps people because you're showing the way, and you're, to use a word we kind of used before, you're contributing more.
Hmm.
Contributing. I think people forget so much about giving to um giving to the thing they want to give to them or they want to gain from, is you have to contribute to it first. And that's where the ability to do it comes from, the practice, the any kind of recognition you might seek, or just the community, all comes from contributing to that thing that you can find some level of curiosity in, that's going to actually hold your attention, right?
And you gotta and the thing is, like, I also feel like if you invest where you have capacity, because we all have different capacity on how far we can go on something.
Mm-hmm.
If you invest where you have capacity, then when you meet somebody or when the opportunity is presented, if you're able to show and articulate what you've done thus far based on what you have,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna show. And a lot of time, that's what goes a long way for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? Like, he wants to be a filmmaker, and he has an old iPhone that he's been shooting and editing on the iPhone. That shows me that he has commitment.
He's doing the work,
Right.
rather than
You
just
know
talking
what I
about
mean?
how he
Like,
wants to do it.
when it's like, oh, I never did it because I need a black magic camera and I need DaVinci to edit and da da da. Like, it's like,
Right.
but so you've never shot anything? You haven't edited anything? You have a phone? Yeah, I do have a phone. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you can, right? It's just like, so but the thing is too that I've learned, it's like,
It's an example of not leveraging your resources.
yeah, and I think
Right.
and I have a lot of empathy for that too, because I believe that
Mm-hmm.
like everybody are in a different path and a different journey when it comes to what they're pursuing. But I do think that sometimes you do need to allocate time on something else so then you can at least have an opportunity to build some capacity around that. So meaning like you're not gonna just quit your, if you don't have any other resource, you're not gonna just quit your job now so you
Mm-hmm.
can become that thing right away.
Right.
Because what happens if you can't pay rent and you can't, then right, then you're like, you're in an even much harder situation. So you do have to be like um strategic on how you go about it. But I also feel like internally you gotta believe in that thing and believe in it so much that it's a possibility.
Kind of like your mom.
Yes, you almost gotta see it. Like, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
I see myself directing, or I see myself like, and then you actually kind of you start believing like it's actually gonna happen.
I've said that if you can see it, you can be it. Right. And as cheesy as I think it sounds, I really just think it's true, because
See it, be it, do it.
well, whatever vision you have in your mind for yourself, I think the reason you're having that vision, or that you have that idea that I really want to do this, this is this is what I really want to be, or how I really see myself. You're having that vision. I mean, as long as you're not being completely delusional, right?
Right.
Then there's a reason that you're having that notion. It's not just necessarily for nothing, especially if it's something that's recurring and it's something that you've, like, a vision you've held for years. I think a lot of people don't pursue it. Um, that's one thing I'd really like to do, is get people to pursue those visions of themselves a bit more,
Mm-hmm.
which is something I've kind of done to a fault, because I just can't kind of see any other way
Mm-hmm.
to live, right? But on that note, like, so is there anything that, because just in the interest of time, is there anything that you're gonna like leave here and wish you had said, or wish we talked about? I think we've covered a lot.
Oh, I see a little. You got a little Stephen Barrett question happening, huh?
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure that I don't
like that,
leave anything on the table.
No,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed our conversation today. I've in the last couple of weeks, I've been in a very introspective space
Mm-hmm.
because I'm fine tuning the book that I wrote, and so
Yeah.
like
I'm interested in that process.
I have to like so, and I was looking forward to our conversation because like, yeah, I was looking forward to our conversation because I knew that it was going to be a very holistic and organic conversation. But I think I think we had a great conversation, and you asked a lot of the questions um that I felt like it built on itself. So I don't really have anything else
Hmm.
to say except just encouraging your listener, like you are worthy, like you deserve to be here, um, and really nothing is impossible. Like, like, like I just want to encourage you on that. Like I really do want to encourage you on that, and I want to encourage you that like even when you feel like the bad stuff are eating you so much, as long as you have the ability to still be alive, then there's a chance for you to overcome those things. Like, and the circumstances that happens in your life that you have no control over, that you've ended up being a victim of, like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that it happened to you. But there's also other things that's so amazing, that's so awesome that you have to share and give. And so I just encourage you, like be hopeful, feed the positive, and just persevere. That's my motto: persevere to excel. Just persevere, and thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for having me on your
Thank you
podcast.
so
I
much for
appreciate it.
contributing to the podcast and for um, being willing to answer questions when I had them, and and I mean every conversation we've ever had, I feel like has been really valuable, and man, I'm grateful to consider you a friend, and so thankful that you're here. One last thing, so you kind of mentioned that Stephen Bartlett thing. So on the Stephen Bartlett note, I wanted to have a tradition to kind of end every show with, and I really loved his question thing, so I have my own kind of spin on it. So
Oh,
every
ask
guest.
someone else.
No, well, it's a little different because
Okay,
it's not really a question,
let me know. Let me know.
but this is actually really fitting. But so basically every guest writes an idea or a concept that I want the next guest to just expand on. I think we've actually that this is just so fitting actually. So in this case, the last guest wrote, "You gain the most by letting go
Hmm.
all the way."
That's wild.
Right.
That's wild. Yeah, that's very reflective of.
So where does that bring you, or what would you uh, add to that, or is there any more substance you can give to that
You gain the most by going all the way,
by letting go
by letting go all
all
the
the
way.
way?
Yeah.
I think that was certainly true for you.
Oh, I, I had to let go. I had to let go all the way.
What if someone's having a hard time letting go? That's a good one.
They're having a hard time letting go, then they have to be able to look themselves in the mirror internally to really identify what's the thing that's preventing them to let go all the way.
Maybe it's being honest about what that thing is.
Yeah.
I think that
And I
leads.
also think that you just got to give yourself grace too. I think
People forget about that one a lot.
vulnerability and having grace, there's so much self-deprecating. There's a lot of language people use that they're like they'll downplay themselves in order to create the space so no one, or if someone else downplays them, they've already done it. It's like
Mhm.
you gotta have grace, but you also have to you gotta kind of uplift your spirit,
Well, but also sometimes you got to be willing to laugh at yourself too.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard for some people. That's been hard for me a lot of times. I'm getting better at it, and taking myself seriously, but not too
Not too
seriously.
serious, right?
There's been
Yeah.
times when I took myself way too seriously. That's something I've had to let go of. That gives us, I think it's all something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But Dale, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Brian. Woo!
Hey, what's up? Just one sec. This podcast is produced by myself, edited by Jens Reyes, and theme music is produced by The Archetype. If you like this episode, please subscribe and share and leave us a rating. This helps us more than I can even express and allows us to provide more value. Thank you very much. Peace, peace.